I want to thank you and Jerry and Esther for what you're doing, because it's very powerful stuff, particularly this latest book. I'm a minister in Unity Church, and we're using your material and have been for some time. I have a question on beliefs. From what I've read from you and from what I understand from my own being, is that beliefs are nothing but solidified old thoughts used over and over again until they become operational in you.
Thoughts you keep thinking.
Yes.
A thought that you activated so often, it became a dominant activated thought. Yes.
It also seems to me that you can't change those beliefs, but you can just create a new one and operate on the new one. In other words, if I start operating from joy, and I maybe used to operate from rage, I can operate from joy most of the time, but that rage seems to still be there. Once in a while I slip, catch myself, and move back.
Well, here's how it works. Every thought that you ever thought still exists. But every thought that you ever thought is not right now activated within you. It's like there are radio towers transmitting all kinds of signals all around you. Radio signals, television signals, cell phone signals, all kinds of signals flowing through here right now. But you don't necessarily know that unless you turn your receiver on that receives one of those signals. And so what you do with your vibration is what activates your receiver and then makes you involved with whatever signals you're activated. You said something very good that we want to qualify just a little bit. You said you can't necessarily change a thought or a belief, but you can choose a different one. And that's accurate. But we would like to say you might activate that thought pretty regularly, and law of attraction will help you make it easy to keep activating that thought. But if you're wise enough to know that that activated thought doesn't feel very good, then you might choose a thought that feels slightly better than that. Now, if you choose a thought that feels really better than that, law of attraction won't help you find it because your signals are too far apart. But if you choose a thought that feels slightly better, and you deliberately activate that, then what happens is the newly activated thought becomes your vibrational set point or belief, and this one sort of diminishes. In time, it may not come up again at all. As you are consciously reaching for the better and better and better feeling thought, what happens is you deactivate those thoughts. Now, we want to be clear about this. You can't really deactivate a thought. That's what you're saying. Can't deactivate that thought, but you can activate that thought. And the more often you activate that thought, then the easier that thought and other thoughts like that thought come to you. So let's say you've done that, you've worked, you feel on the whole better and better and better and better and better. Then something happens that hasn't happened in a while, and you see it on television, and it causes you to focus, and it causes you to activate a thought that hasn't been activated in a long while. Well, don't panic. Just understand that something happened that activated a thought, and if you will reach for a thought that feels a little better, you can move yourself into another place. And in fact, that's what bridging beliefs really is. One subject at a time, you just reach for a better feeling thought, reach for a better feeling thoughts. Let's say that there are 100 things, 100 different subjects that you have activated often that are sort of negative activations. And one at a time, you make yourself feel better. One at a time. So now you got about 50 of them that you feel pretty good and 50 of them that don't feel so good. But one at a time, now you got 49 and 48 and 47. Now you've got 90 things that mostly you feel good about, and only a few things like taxes and your government bombing people and tsunamis and big things that really don't have so much to do with you personally on a day-to-day basis, but they bother you when you look at them. And one at a time, you make a decision and line up with it, and make a decision and line up with it, until before you know it, with far less effort than you know, because you've made the emotional journey, which is easy, as opposed to the action journey, which is impossible in many cases. And now you've brought yourself consistently into alignment in feeling good. So then a question is, could I reach the place where I've trained myself into feeling so good that nothing would ever happen that would make me feel bad again? And we say, who cares? Because you have the ability to make that feel good too. In other words, maybe once you get 100 cleaned up, there's 100 more that are less severe that you want to clean up. And maybe after you get those cleaned up, there's 100 more that are even less severe that you want to get cleaned up. And maybe after you get up here in hope and optimism, you want to move them all into appreciation and joy and ecstasy. There is no end to our journey. You will never reach the place where you are wanting to isolate yourself from the contrast lasting experience that causes you to focus. What you're looking for, and thank you for helping us say it, is creative control of your own focus. We don't want your government to have to stop doing what it's doing so that you can feel good. We want you to train yourself to feel good no matter what. We don't want people to treat you nice and not hurt your feelings so that you can feel good. We want your feelings to be unhurtable. We want you to be so aware that you can change the way you feel just by wanting to and by focusing, that you are now no longer fearful of what's going on out there in the world. You're not afraid of dying. You're in love with living. You're not worried about people doing things that displease you. You're in creative control of your vibration. And therefore, you're in creative control of everything that happens to you.
So it's just a process.
It is a never-ending, joyful process. That's why if you are in one of these lower vibrations where it feels like fear or anger or rage, don't beat up on yourself. Say, my blessed guidance system is letting me know that I got some old stuff activated, and it doesn't matter. It's not my mother's fault. It's not the government's fault. It's a process of what I've lived, but the bottom line is I don't like the way I feel. So I need to look someplace else, or I need to make peace with that as it is, but I need to adjust the way I feel. And you have the power to do that. And when you show yourself that you have the power to do that, then and only then are you really free. Because no one can bestow this freedom to you. Freedom is bestowed. In other words, it's the basis of this universe. You're so free you can choose bondage. You are free. But the only way you'll ever perceive that freedom is by understanding that you have the ability to feel good no matter what. And when you reach that place where fear is gone, you are in that place of freedom. Now you can go anywhere. You can have a wonderful time no matter what, you see. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed.
I wonder... There's a group of scholars called the Jesus Seminar who have isolated what they really believe Jesus said, and it condenses it down to a few pages. And when I read just that, what they say, it is obvious that he was teaching exactly what you're teaching.
Same energy.
Absolutely.
Jerry
Totally.
has a friend who speaks mostly only Spanish, and Jerry wanted to convey to him his love and appreciation. And so Jerry wrote a long letter in English and took it to another friend who speaks Spanish and had it translated into Spanish, and gave the letter to his friend who was most appreciative. Then, a few weeks later, Jerry had the letter still with him and met another person who was a translator of English and Spanish. So he had the same letter translated now from Spanish back into English. And when he read the letter, he hardly recognized it.
That's exactly
And Jerry
what
said, this is just one letter that went to one person and then another. Can you imagine? With no intention other than to do their best to convey the message. There were no ulterior motives. There were no empires that they were trying to direct or guide or anything, you see. And so it's no wonder that they've whittled it down to just a few words. Because most of them have been enormously distorted or omitted to serve the purpose of whoever was doing the redeciphering. And that's why we don't think it is a good idea for you to count on Esther's translation. We think you should get your own.
Thank you.